Good morning. Welcome to your Tuesday morning, early morning intuitive guidance, running a few minutes late. Sorry about that. I'm Dr. Bonnie Nussbaum here with some words of wisdom to get us rolling today. And I have to laugh, and it's going to be kind of a sardonic laugh that this is the reading that popped up. We have Tosha Silver today, Outrageous Openness. But good morning, Carolyn. Welcome. You're the first one here today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Gotta get some hand lotion here. Dry. I was up a significant chunk of the night last night. Good morning, Abigail. Good morning, Cindy. I think someone else snuck past me. Glad you're here. Good morning, Jonielle. Welcome, welcome. Couldn't get my brain to shut off. It was rolling on trying to problem solve something that really just needs time to unfold, I'm sure. But stewing, trying to flipping and flopping, trying to figure things out, telling my brain to be quiet. It doesn't listen. Good morning, Janine. Welcome. Doing my whole brain posture, doing some tapping, etc., etc. After what seemed like hours, I looked at my clock just to orient. Yes, exactly. And it was 11:11. And I'm like, I kind of laughed out loud because I know that this is the divine unfolding, that there is a reason this is going the way it's going. And yeah, so then I picked today's reading and I'm like, yeah, there we go again. It's the, let's see if I can capture it with words. I was trying to send an email to someone this morning to capture it also. And good morning, Gwen. Welcome. And was having a hard time putting together the words that actually captured this process. When I'm talking to other mental health people, we have a language, right? And using that language, I would have been able to very clearly say, this is what's going on here. But given that I'm talking to non-mental health people, the regular English language doesn't quite have the words to make this make sense. But basically, it's the dark night of the soul induced by some events, the sense of it being when you just start seeing some light. Good morning, Sarah. Welcome. Glad you're here. When you just start seeing some light after a period of long darkness. Thank you. And you work yourself through. I work myself through to, okay, the uphill climb is ending now. We're going to plateau a bit, and maybe we can even coast a little bit, etc. And then something comes in and whammo, the light goes out again. That was yesterday. So this chapter is just a hoot. Oh, and I can see it's reminding me I have to put out my birthday special for coaching also one of these days, because it will, usually I put it out a month before, so that would be April 6th. My birthday is May 6th. And then usually it's coaching sessions on sale, etc. So just my reminder that I have to do that. So, Outrageous Openness, Letting the Divine Take the Lead by Tosha Silver. We've revisited this little tome over and over and over, haven't we? And every time I open the page to, okay, Spirit, what story do we need to pay attention to today? Okay, Universe, guide me to what I need to pay attention to today. Good morning, Beth. Out comes something very useful. So today's is entitled, Out of the Cosmic Dumpster. It's on page 115 for those of you who have the book. Lucky you if you have the book. So this is one of those chapters, and don't fret if you're newer here. Good morning, Linda. And the word chapter freaks you out. They're usually 2 or 3 pages long. They're little. So the chapters that have 2 quotes at the beginning, we know we're going to get good stuff when the chapter has 2 quotes at the beginning. Out of the Cosmic Dumpster. The first quote is by Buddha. You yourself, as much as anyone in the entire universe, deserve your own love and affection. Rumi, there's a basket of fresh bread on your head, yet you go door to door asking for crusts. That one really chimes for me. It's like, How little am I willing to settle for here? No, push for the big stuff. Push for the big stuff. And if people get afraid, if people feel alienated, that's their stuff to work through. That's not my problem. So interesting. So here's her story, and we'll see what each of you pulls out of this story. Good morning, Mel. Welcome, welcome. You're just in time for a Tosha story. So I'd love to have you put in the feed after I read through this once the first thing that pops into your head in terms of what's relevant for me here, what's relevant for you in this little chapter. Here we go. I went through a harrowing period in the late 80s when my endocrine system crashed and burned. I spent the better part of 3 years mostly on my back, submerged in deep despair. After a year, Western medicine admitted its inability to heal me. Good morning, Bobby. This will chime for you also, I'm sure. And helpfully suggested I find creative ways to make a life from bed. You're still really smart, you know, said my MD at the time. Notice the at the time. And you're only 30. Couldn't you consider this all a positive new chapter and learn to crochet yoga bags or something? Not helpful. Little did I know that eventually an inspired acupuncturist would arrive out of nowhere and turn the entire situation around. And again, what we need shows up. What we need shows up. If we walk with our process, what we need shows up in divine right timing and divine right order. But something happened the month before she appeared. So something happened the month before the acupuncturist, who eventually turned around Tosha's health issue, appeared. In some ways, I think of it as the event that let her appear. I was living in a tiny studio in a building in the Richmond district of San Francisco. It was a dismal room with a small fridge and bath, all I could afford. In my state of illness and despondency, I had gone from being surrounded by pristine beauty to barely washing my clothes. Why bother, I would muse. I'm just in this decrepit cave waiting to die. Good morning, Angie. Welcome. Glad you're here. In the building's basement was a dumpster for people's trash. Once a week, I voyaged down with all the empty boxes of Chinese takeout I had come to subsist on. Are you already getting the sense that life was not going well for her at this period of time? But one day, the garbage rocked my world. Leaning against the bin was a huge, brand new poster of the Hindu deities Lakshmi, Ganesh, and Saraswati in all their resplendent, vibrant glory. Gold shiny glitter glistened on their lush forms. And Lakshmi is about abundance, and Ganesh is about overcoming obstacles, and I'm not exactly sure, Saraswati, if some of you know, put it in the feed for us. Well, I had a long history with these guys. They had decorated all my apartments until I became ill. They were my soul's oldest pals. Isn't that a nice way to think of things? I carried their pictures in my wallet the way some people do their children. Yet when my life began spiraling into its nightmarish abyss, I had slammed the door of my heart and spat an angry goodbye. Good morning, Lucy. Welcome, welcome. Having given many readings to folks who felt abandoned by God, I sure knew about spiritual betrayal. Yet there was the whole beloved cosmic gang, patiently and oddly smiling in my basement, still wrapped in shiny cellophane, waiting. Ganesh's soft, kind eyes drew me like a magnet. Even in my deranged hopelessness, the goddess of knowledge, music, fabulous, perfect. Thank you. I'm sure that was Cindy. Yes. Much appreciated. Even in my deranged hopelessness. I love that. Deranged hopelessness. That's where I was last night. That's where I was early this morning. It is shifting. It is moving through. But it is the acceptance of the process. When we go through these trials by fire, and I knew this from the moment things went down yesterday. I knew that this is all divinely orchestrated. There is value in this. There's a reason it's going this way. I could intellectually already see there was purpose for what was being addressed, we have to answer these questions. If we do not answer these questions, our project will be weaker for it. But how the process of how that was delivered and how it unfolded made it more difficult than I think it needed to be. So, even in my deranged hopelessness, I knew one hell of a sign when I saw it. Kind of like the 11:11 on my clock. It was like, yes, I know this has a purpose. It still really sucks, but I know this has a purpose. So, I'll share a little more of it, but let's finish this part up first. I had pitched myself into the trash during this dark night, giving up any faith that the universe might have an inconceivable plan for me. I'd lost any awareness of myself as sacred or even worthy of aid. How many of us have been there? Good morning, Joe Bell. Glad you're here. 13 of you here right now. How many of you have been here? And I will guarantee you, it's every one of us has been here. That dark night of the soul where we go, why bother? Why try? Nothing's going to get better. Life sucks, and then you die, right? So, I'd lost any awareness of myself as sacred. Hear that word, sacred. The book I'm reading right now, he's so making an eloquent case for viewing Mother Earth as sacred. All of us as sacred. The plants, the animals, the rocks, the whole shebang, sacred. Because that's the only way we're going to save it, save us. That's the only way. When we view things as commodities, including human beings, that's what allowed slavery, right? When we view things as commodities, we fall into a two-dimensional way of dealing with stuff. It's all about input and output and nothing about heart and soul, all right? Again, I loved Mary Kay Ash's thing about P&L. It's not profit and loss. It's people and love. She knew her shit. She was amazing. She was so ahead of her time. So, I carefully took the poster upstairs and hung it on the bare white wall over my bed. For the first time in months, I thoroughly cleaned the place and lit some sandalwood incense. Then I shuffled down the block to a laundromat, beginning the first of many loads. The next day, I walked across the street to have my hair cut. I told my poor body I was so sorry for its suffering and vowed to be of help. My recovery had begun. So, how many of us have gone through this? Those dark nights of the soul, those points in time where we're feeling like all of our work was for naught, that we're not getting anywhere, nothing's getting better. And I think the way I put it this morning in the email to one of the people that we're going to have a conversation was that I felt like my hard-fought, year-long little gains had been pitched right out the window. To, again, the wise part of me knows, to an important purpose. There's a reason they got thrown out the window. It still felt crappy, right? So part of what I believe will come out of this is communication among a bunch of people in terms of how do we work better together? How do we truly coalesce as a team and work together instead of dropping bombs in the middle of the floor that mess up the whole place? How do we do this from a place of kindness and love and support and cheerleading? I'm going to put cheerleading in there. Let's put that word in there. So when someone's going through, oh crap, that isn't going to work, we need to do something else, others rally around and go, we'll figure it out. We can do this. Absolutely we can do this. We'll figure it out. The reason I think this is so important, and there's 14 of you listening to me right now, the reason I think this is so important is that's the only way anything is going to be moved forward. And rather than disable and handicap the people who are the movers and shakers, if those who are going, yeah, that's not going to work, I could just adjust their approach a little bit to something along the lines of, I have a question and I want to know how we are going to manage this. What can we do with this? Make it a team thing. How will we address this? You know, so yesterday was just loaded with this stuff. Was talking to a young woman who's having some struggles in her marriage. And really trying to get, helping her get around to the we of it. It's not him and her, and we have to have a battle over this. It's a unit. We are aligned with each other. How are we going to work on this? How are we going to do this? And yes, there are people who aren't going to understand the process. But what I hope is, yes, exactly, Beth. Absolutely. Yes, 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 yes. And we need to feed that, and we need to nurture that and water that and make that grow, and then demonstrate it for other teams of people who are struggling to come together. And I was making a comparison, which oftentimes comparison isn't useful. But in this case, I hoped it was, that there's two other teams that I'm a part of, Generative Local Community Institute and Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, where I don't feel this same thing that I'm feeling with this particular team. And I'm trying to figure out, what is it about those other two teams? What do I need to bring from those other two teams to this process that will allow it to gel into a well-functioning team? Because this is going to be a gnarly process. I knew this in the beginning, but now again, yesterday's events make it even more obvious that this is the case. Affordable housing is not something that a lot of people want to deal with. Not just the NIMBYs, but also the people who are in the housing market to make money. They're not interested in affordable housing. You're not going to make as much money off of it. And we're trying to figure out, part of the big picture is, how do each of the entities here make the money they need to make in order to survive? Yes, we can have philanthropy, and we can have donations of time and energy and all of this stuff. Thank you, Cindy. Awesome, awesome. But somewhere along the line here, the players that are needed, we either have to find a way not to need them and to get around that, or they need to come to the table. They need to show up. They need to be willing to do some stuff that maybe doesn't benefit them as much as their typical stuff benefits them, right? So I think that for this project, I'm making 1/5 the amount per hour doing this project as I do my regular work. So this isn't about, I'm going to make money doing this thing. This is about, there is a need. I'm feeling called to help fill it. Let's pull our shit together and make this happen, right? So what about for you? Where in your world, where in the world are you finding those gaps, those places where either not yet enough people have risen up, or not yet enough unity has been created, or that kind of stuff? And then I'd like you to imagine, let us imagine, there's 13 of you and one of me, that's 14 people. Let us imagine how we are going to overcome that, how we are going to move forward anyway. I've got mine somewhere hiding in the, yep, hang on, got to dig it out. It's just too good not to have you get the visual here. My desk is a mess. Move ahead anyway. The soul knows the way through. Move ahead anyway. The soul knows the way through. And we will. This team will come together. We will make this happen. It's just, and again, I know we needed to hit this bump to get where we're going to go. This is going to make it all stronger. It's going to make it all better. I get that. Just ain't fun in the process. Like her, I bet if we talked to Tosha Silver and we said, what were the things that you gleaned from your 3 years of laying in your little one-room place with your whole physical being crashing and burning? What did you learn from that? What did that do for you? Not to you. What did that do for you? And I'll bet you a nickel she could give us a list. I bet she could wax eloquent about what it did for her. Glad this is helpful, Lucy. Absolutely glad this is helpful. Same for myself. What is this doing for me? It's making me look at our group process and how this process goes, and taking the time to articulate how it needs to go differently to work better for me, to work better for the group as a whole, etc. We'll get there. We will get there. Damned unpleasant in the process, but I've never been one to shy away from taking on the pink elephants in the living room. So here we are with our pink elephant in the living room. Opportunity. It is opportunity. There's opportunity in the difficulty. Again, when I had this hanging on my wall for years, the optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. The pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity. Which one are you going to be? Which one are you going to be? I hope the 13 of you and whoever else listens to this after the fact rallies around this. Yes, crazy turbulent times. And again, Victoria Laurie, who's one of my favorite psychics, says that April is going to be one gigantic toilet. So we want to be as prepared as we can be. Get as much stuff done as you can here at the end of March. Coast through April as best you can. Don't take on big things. Just coast as best you can, and then we'll come out the other side and make some hay while the sun shines. So that is it for today. If you've got an image of any of those, Ganesh, Lakshmi, Saraswati, put it out there. Put it out there. Or make a 3x5 card for you that actually captures this. Move ahead anyway. The soul knows the way through. Right after the eclipse. I know. So breathing, stepping back, using your curious observer stance over and over and over and over again. And I was in curious observer in that meeting yesterday. Like, ain't this interesting? Look at this thing crash and burn. Holy cow. Now what? And knowing that it's divine intervention, it wasn't pleasant, but it was necessary. It was absolutely necessary. So now, tonight, hopefully, I get a good night's sleep, and then usually that's my MO. When something crappy happens, I'll have a not great night's sleep, trying to work it through. Then I'll have a good night's sleep in which answers, guidance, direction comes to me, and on we go. So you get to witness in the middle part. Phoenix, yes. I would not be surprised. There was a point where I actually had a picture of a phoenix on my desk also. An eagle and a phoenix right beside each other. So, yeah, I may need to resurrect that in my mind. So have an awesome Tuesday, beyond measure an awesome Tuesday. We'll see you again tomorrow. Can't wait to tell you where things are at tomorrow. And remember, we are all capable of far more than we think we are. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.